This is Us Before.
Us Before.
Hi friends, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it's time for a Sunday sum up. This one's going to cover 2 weeks because these last 2 weeks have flown by, and last weekend I didn't have a chance to work on a Sunday sum up. So I want to give you an update as to where I currently am with the books I'm reading that I didn't even bring over here. And I have a few reviews for you. I want to show you all the fun stuff we got into in the last couple of weeks through B-roll. And I did a bit of book organizing, which was nice. And so hopefully that footage turned out well. I'll incorporate that into these videos as I get to that point. But for now, sit back and relax with a cup of coffee and enjoy this recap of the last couple of weeks. Okay, so I did finish Fool's Errand. This is a reread for me. It is, of course, a 5-star. Still one of my favorite books in this series, like overall, Realm of the Elderlings. And I can see why this wouldn't be a lot of people's favorites. For one, Robin Hobb is a detailed, meandering author, which I love because there's so much built in these stories. There's so much character development. There are so many things that are explained, like every detail is honed in on. And that's a lot. It can be a lot. But for me, this book was so nostalgic, and even considering the Farshad trilogy is not my favorite trilogy, I love the Life Ship Traders more, but I did love revisiting these characters. Like, Fitz wasn't my favorite character in the first series. I liked him, of course, because he was our main character. I didn't feel the same attachment that other people felt about him. The Fool has always and will always be my absolute favorite character. I love the Fool, and his character will always be probably one of my favorite character arcs, character stories of most series. I just think he's an incredible character. But I really loved coming back to Fitz, and I liked him as an adult. And so I think that the nostalgic vibes I got for this book were so immense that it didn't bother me so much that the first third of the book, there's not much happening. There's not much going on. There's no actual adventure happening. We are recollecting a lot. We are getting visitors of people from his past that are coming back to talk about the past and talk about things that have come to pass and talk about the future and talk about all the things in between. And there's so little happening at the beginning of this that if you aren't a fan of the series, I could see that it would drive people away, probably. Fantastic for me. Absolutely love this. Can't wait to start The Golden Fool, the next book in the series, which I will be starting today, and I'm going to be doing 22 pages a day in this one. So it's a bigger book than this one. Yeah, it's going to take me the whole month to get this completed, but I'm very, very excited to finally continue on with the series. I know that this is one that makes a lot of people cry, like ugly cry. So we'll see if I ugly cry. Fingers crossed that I do, because then that means it's really pulling all the emotions out of me. I got a shirt for my favorite sea animal, nudibranchs. These are specific to our area. Okay, so you might have noticed in our little book crawl yesterday that my friend Natalie from Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe came up. She was up here in this area doing a little bit of a weekend trip, and she was like, hey, you want to go book shopping? And we did. So Jordan and I went book shopping with her. We had a blast. We had a few places we wanted to go to, but then there was this big like motorcycle convention happening in the area that we're gonna go find a few other bookstores. So that was a little strange. So we ended up going to a third bookstore that I didn't take any video footage of in this, and it was a really teeny tiny bookstore, and it was cute. An odd collection of new books, used books, but I was like, who's curating this? This collection? It's very interesting. And so I had such a good time spending the afternoon with Natalie and Jordan, and I got a few books. So 4 of the books that I'm gonna tell you about in this little haul are books that Natalie actually was unhauling. She sent me like a picture of all the books she has to unhaul, and she asked me if I wanted any of them. And these are the books that I decided I wanted. And then one of them is a book that I, when I was at Village Books, I just saw this book and I was like, oh, that's the kind of book I want. And it just so happened that it's from an author I'm gonna be reading for the first time, Olga Tokarczuk. I listened to how you spell CZ, and that's more of a ch sound. So Olga Tokarczuk also recently wrote The Impusium, and I love this cover. This cover is incredible, but it's also a health resort horror story. This sounds like something I am gonna absolutely love. Like, I'm excited about reading this. I've been wanting to read from this author for a long time, but this is like getting a chance to read from this author, but also the type of horror story I'm really looking forward to. So I can't wait to read this. Obviously I'm gonna still prioritize this because this is on my TBR, but I'm like, sounds so fun. And it's set in 1913. It's a young Polish woman who has tuberculosis, and she's going to this health resort to try and get better. And they have these different tonics and stuff that they give to them to like make them better. But it sounds like she's going to become the target for this mysterious, I don't know who or what. And I just love the idea of this setting, and I love the time period, 1913. I love the concept. Yeah, I'm like so excited. I'm so excited. I hope it's amazing. I hope it's all I'm hoping for, because this was one of those books where I just saw it. I don't often like pick books up that I know nothing about and be like, oh, I want to read that. But this, instantaneously, this was a cover buy for sure, because the cover is what made me want to check it out. And then when I read the synopsis, I was like, yes, thank you. And it's an author I'm interested in reading from anyways. So very, very excited about that. So for the 4 books that I got from Natalie, this first one is very, very cute. And I don't know that she actually got a chance to read it. I am excited about it because it works for Advent Calendar Challenge. And I'm just starting to get some really good ideas about Advent Calendar Challenge kind of percolating in my brain. So I'm excited to plan that for this year. I was feeling a little burnt out on, not necessarily on Advent Calendar Challenge, but planning Advent Calendar Challenge. And now I'm really excited because I'm starting to get some new ideas. So this is Snowball's Christmas by Kristen McConnell, as I'm guessing how you pronounce that. And this is a cute little Christmas cat story. I'm not nearly as picky when it comes to the Christmassy books that I pick up for Advent Calendar Challenge. I tend to be a little more like, okay, we'll give it a try. It's a Christmassy book. I don't look at the ratings as much. I just like, oh, it sounds like a cute Christmassy book. So I think that that's an area of my TBR where I don't really pay so much attention to synopses and ratings and stuff. If it's a Christmas book, I might give it a try. And I also like to have some on my shelves for Advent Calendar Challenge when it does come up. So thank you, Natalie, for this. And then I also don't know how much. Okay, so I picked up The Finer Print by Lauren Asher. This is a series I've heard a lot about. In the past, I've not been quite as sure if I've really that interested in this series, but it was free because it's an unhaul. It's a romantic series, which I think I don't have as many of those as I have like fantasy series. And, you know, I'm a Disney adult. So I figured, you know, I probably should give this series a chance, you know, give it a chance, see what I think, and see if I enjoy the romance. I think that's what I was concerned about with these series. I didn't know if the romances were going to be anything that I was interested in, just based off what I've heard people say about them. But, you know, I'm willing to give it a shot. It looks like there's a lot of dialogue in this. A lot of dialogue. And you got some fun pictures of, like, roller coasters and stuff like that. So, we'll see. We'll see. Then I recently heard someone talking about Fingersmith and how much they really liked it. Who was it? There was some booktuber talking about Fingersmith. And I do like historical fiction. This is London, 1862. This is basically set around a girl that's a pickpocket from a young child. And she's convinced by a con artist to take up this big con because she wants to be able to help her family. Financially, she wants to be able to make enough money in the situation to help her family. And it sounds like it's going to be a great setting. I'm interested in the time period. I'm looking forward to this perspective. I just thought this sounded really good. And whoever I heard talking about it made it sound like it was going to be really good. And then finally, a book from a series that I've wanted to try for a very long time. We've got Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This has been on TBRs in the past, like towards the beginning of my channel. And I was interested in reading more by Rebecca Roanhorse, especially now that I know how much I love Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I kind of want to try more from her. This is more of an urban paranormal fantasy, and so I think that it's going to be different than Black Sun was for sure, but I'm hoping that I will enjoy the author's writing as much as I did before. Oh, I have a couple other books I can tell you about. My cousin always brings books to our family get-together on Sundays that he's done reading, and one of the ones I was interested in is Leech by Huron Ennis. I know I'm not saying that correctly, but I have heard Kayla from Books and Lala enjoy this one a lot, and I just was really curious about this one. It sounds creepy and gross, but for the season, it sounded very fun and interesting. And they also had a bind-up of Shirley Jackson short stories, and I loved The Lottery, so I would like to read more from this author. I would like to read more from Shirley Jackson, and this sounds like a fun way to do it through short stories. All right, I need to talk about the audiobook Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross that I recently picked up because I was peer pressured into it. My ex-coworker, who has been talking to me about this book for a very long time, has been continuously asking me, have you read it? Have you read it? Have you read it? And she finally was like, hey, have you read it? And I did pick it up because I was like, well, I can listen to an audiobook. She told me the audiobook was fantastic, and she was correct. It was a really good audiobook. And I have been curious about trying this series for a while because it was really popular. It got a lot of people enjoying it. And I think what held me back from it a bit was that I didn't really know what this series was about, for one. And two, I hadn't ever read anything by Rebecca Ross. This wasn't one where I was like, gosh, I really need to read that one. But when my coworker who loved it so much was telling me about it, I was like, that does sound like a lot of fun. It sounds like a very interesting read, and I do need to get to it someday. But, you know, obviously I succumb to peer pressure occasionally. And I had the space in my reading for a new audiobook. And so I picked this one up, not really knowing the synopsis of it. I had heard it's kind of like a You Got Mail retelling. And that is, in a lot of ways, what it is. It's a fantasy. So what's funny about this is it feels like a 1940s historical fiction in the way that it's written and the way things are described, but it's not like World War II. It's a completely different war in this other world. And I thought that that was really well done by the author. I think that was clever, and I enjoyed it even more because of that. In this, we have two characters, and they're competing journalists. They're competing journalists at this news place. Anyways, on the side of that, they are secretly corresponding to each other. She doesn't realize that he is this mystery person she's corresponding with. He does know he's talking to her through the messaging. So that is very reminiscent of the You Got Mail premise. Alongside their competition, she has a really difficult life because her brother has gone off to war. Her mother is her only remaining family member at home, and her mother is struggling. Ever since her brother went off to war, she's been struggling hugely, and it's really affecting Iris's life. Our main male character, Roman Kit, comes from a very wealthy family where expectations are placed on him, where he needs to live a certain life and he has to be a certain person for his family. And there is a lot of guilt for him about something that has happened in the past that has devastated the whole family and has really devastated him. And because of that, he feels like he has to go along with the family plan. And this is hard because the family doesn't have his best interest at heart. It has the legacy's best interest at heart. So we've got these two characters that have a lot of things going on in their personal life, and they've got this work tension, which is also a bit of a romantic tension. And on top of that, they are secretly messaging each other. And he knows he's messaging this girl he has a lot of respect for and is very excited about. She just knows that he's this thoughtful, amazing person that she wants to know, and is nothing in her mind like Roman Kit. So a lot goes on in this. There is a big war because, like I mentioned, her brother goes off to war, and there's a lot that's happening along the concept of the war that's occurring. And I'm not going to tell you about that because I don't want to spoil certain plot points that happen that make it more fun to learn about what is going on in the story. And I really enjoyed this a lot for the implied historical element to it. I enjoyed it a lot for the romance. I really liked the romance between Iris and Roman. I thought that that was sweet. It felt very YA. I know that this is not a YA because she's like 18 and he's like 19 or something like that. And, you know, these are both very young people. Like, even though they're 18 and 19, they're technically adults. They're still at a very young age. So, like, I don't mind that YA vibe a little bit because I feel like when you're at that age, you're still kind of, you are a young adult. I think because there was a little bit of spice added, I was like, oh, this feels so young for that. But the spice wasn't too spicy, so maybe it was just right. But I just want to warn you going into it because I think that there will be people who won't enjoy this because it feels younger. Even though if you think about it, they're 18 and 19 years old. That's still really young. I think that the part that didn't intrigue me quite as much was the mythology. There was a huge element of mythology to this because this war is between two gods, Deva and Enva. No, Enva and what is the male god's name? I can't remember. It's not like real mythology. It's like mythology for this fantastical world. And I think that that part was good for adding some of the information that we need to understand why people are at war and what's going on, but it just didn't intrigue me nearly as much as the like historical vibes and the relationship between the two characters. I don't think that that pulled me out of the story. I can just say that that was not quite as exciting. There were also a couple of things that happened within the story, within the relationship between the two, but also like just in general within the story that I felt were so sudden and not very well resolved, or you're kind of like, well, how did that just happen? Okay, that was easy. Or, oh, well, what was the consequence? Or, you know, I felt like there were some things in this where I was like, but what happened? Give me more of that situation. Why did it come to this? And we didn't get a ton of that. And I think that that kind of added these little, I would say not plot holes, but areas where the plot and even the character development or the situational developments could have been a little bit more enriched. And they were just not there. So I think overall I'd give this book, I had fun reading this or listening to this. It's probably going to be about a 4.25 stars because I do want to continue on with the series. I really did have a good time. There were so many aspects of this, elements of this that I was enjoying, and I had no problem continuing on listening to this. It was a really fun audiobook listen. And so enjoyment-wise, it was pretty high. I had fun, and I can see myself reading more from this author because I liked the writing style. I thought that there were a lot of elements to Rebecca Ross's writing and concepts that I found very intriguing. So I'm now more curious to read more from this author. Okay, so I'm trying to do some serious book organizing because I have a lot of books that I brought in recently and I have nowhere to put them. So before I do that, I want to organize, I have a little rotating bookshelf for my read books and my read book shelf. So let me show you this really fast. What I've decided I want to do with this one, because these are all read books, is take off all the books that are part of series and put them on my read shelf, and then only put standalones on this one. So I've got my hardcovers on the top. I do have a lot of books that are part of series on here. So I don't know, that might not be a good idea, but I think that's what I'm going to try and do at least first, and kind of see how big of a dent that actually makes on my spinning shelf thing. And then I really have to organize this because I've just been piling books on here. And these are all my read books, but I kind of want to claim that bottom shelf for, I think, my romances, because I'm starting to get a lot of, well, here, I'll show you. I have a lot of romances that don't have, there's no space. There's absolutely no space on these. And then these are my horror thriller mysteries. So you see I got a big stack there. This is my stack of horror thriller mysteries that have to go on those shelves. Here's my stack of romances that have to go on those shelves. So I'm thinking with that bottom shelf, I can make it want to read romances and seasonal books. and hopefully that will clear up more room down here for my horror thriller mysteries. Yeah, there's just so much organizing that needs to happen. And I got to move this stuff. We've been taking stuff off the table, and so I can't get to those books back there. And I have a lot of fantasy books I have to add on here. Here, I'll show you that stack. Here are my fantasy books. Recently fixed up my nonfiction shelf, so these should be easy to put on, hopefully. You know what, I lied. These are my horror thriller mysteries that have to go on that shelf. These are my adult fictions that have to go back on those shelves for now. I just ran out of room on my cart. Like, I can't keep them all in my cart because there's just too many books to go on that cart. So I have to put some of them back. Doesn't mean I won't read them soon, just means that I'll have to go, look for them when I need to read them. Because, yeah, I've got so many books that need homes. So I've got to figure out how to make this work. Okay, so I didn't well organize because normally I organize by last name. I didn't well organize my series at all. I didn't try and alphabetize them the way that I did on my standing shelves. And I'm okay with that because I think it'll be easy to find books on here when I need to, and I'll just end up pulling out some to be able to find the books behind it. I was really just trying to get them on here in a way where I have an extra shelf down here. Yay! Okay, so that's my whole fantasy shelf, and it is all organized. And then down at the very bottom, I have my special video shelf. Able to put those holiday ones all right there, and these are on my red shelf. So I actually didn't have to use the rest of this space for my romances at this point yet. Of course, yet implies that I'm bringing in more books, and I'm not. So it's not gonna happen. Guess who found out she just got a job? I'm excited. Can you tell I'm excited? I'm nervous and excited, and there are bittersweet elements because I'm realizing I won't be able to see the kiddos that I've been working with for a long time again. Really, really exciting news, and I am gonna take it because it's an exciting new adventure, and it's time for me to have a bit of stability in my work life. I'm very, very excited about it. It's gonna be a great opportunity. I can't wait to see what I get to do. I know what will be getting to do from like these are my job tasks, but I also don't know what it's going to look like in practice. So I'm really excited to start in like a week and a half. Yeah, really, really just like thrilled. Okay, so as far as my reading currently goes, I am reading The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Tawny Man trilogy. I'm not that far along, but it's still the beginning of the month. I'm one day behind on my reading. Currently on page 104. Need to be on 152 by the end of today. So we'll see, because I've got a bit of a busy day today, but that's my goal. I also used my spinner wheel to spin the very first book that I would be reading for the month of October from my TBR, and this is what I got. So I am currently reading The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin, almost halfway through this book. I am in this weird spot where I'm like, gosh, I'm really enjoying this, but a part of me feels like I have to rush through it because I'm like, it's October, I gotta get to some spooky books. But I'm also just trying to take my time and enjoy it because I don't want to just be sprinting through books just so I can read the next one or figure out what my next spooky book is gonna be. It is about these women. They're in the upper echelons of society and they all have husbands who are really restrictive. They basically don't let them do anything that one has a father that's restrictive. These men are ruling their lives and making their lives miserable, and they're not allowed to read. Well, Lady Duxbury, she's the main hostess of these events. She had husbands who were like that, and she no longer does. But she has sought out these women who she knows have horrible situations because she wants to create the society of women who care for each other and help each other. And so that is basically what the story is about. And then, of course, these women, through reading again and through these conversations they have with each other, through this camaraderie, are able to find their own voices. And that can be a very dangerous thing during this time. And this is my new release for HRCYED for the month of August. And I still have, when do I have to have this finished by? So this was actually released on August 26th, which means I would have to have it completed by October 26th. I have plenty of time for that. I'm going to get this done soon. So it'll be done well before the 26th. I'm currently listening to 2 audiobooks. One of them I'm going to save and I'm not going to tell you about because that's for another video, but I'm 41% of the way through that mystery audiobook. The other one that I'm working on completing is You Belong Here by Miranda. This is my new release for the month of July, and it is past when I should have had it finished. However, I did complete the secret challenge for HRCYED for the month of September. Wow, the year's going by quickly. The month of September, I was supposed to do an art project while I listened to an audiobook and finish the art project, which I did. That means that my reward was an extra several weeks to finish any new release that I had. So because the book that I was listening to was 346 pages long, I can use the 3 in the 300, 100, 200, 300 for 3 extra weeks. So I have already bypassed a week for You Belong Here. And I'm into the second week, but I will get it done this week. But at least I'm getting this one done right away. And hopefully I'll get my September new release done soon, and maybe this month as well, because then I don't want to keep being behind on these new releases. I'll just keep getting myself into trouble like I did with You Belong Here. I am 87% of the way through that one, so it will be done soon. I only have like an hour and 15 minutes left. It's just that I'm not really enjoying it, so I don't like prioritize listening to it. I need to. Mom and I are both listening to it together, and we've been doing it while we've been crafting or other things like that. So hopefully in the next day or so, we'll get a chance to do some crafting and we'll finish listening to that audiobook. Let me know in the comment section down below what's the best book you read in the past couple of weeks, or maybe the worst book you read in the last couple of weeks. I'd love to hear either thought. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens next week. Well, this week, will I just be working on finishing this? I will have a little bit of free time this week, so I'm hoping I get some reading done. I also have a lot of things in my life, though, I need to organize. So I might end up doing another day or so of like the spinner wheel chooses what I do next as far as like chores and stuff like that, because I'd like to get some stuff accomplished. I haven't been on track of things lately. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.